Zainab was the pride of her village, a woman everyone admired. She was known for her kindness, grace, and radiant beauty. Whenever she walked through the streets, people couldn't help but smile and praise her. She had a way of making everyone feel special, whether it was helping an elderly neighbor or playing with the children by the river. It was no surprise that her wedding to Malik had become the talk of the village. Malik was everything a girl could dream of: handsome, noble, and kind-hearted. He was not just admired for his wealth, but also for his strong morals and love for his people. Together, Zainab and Malik seemed like the perfect couple, a match made in heaven. Their love story had inspired everyone, and the entire village was counting down the days to their grand wedding. On the surface, Zainab appeared to be the happiest bride-to-be. Her laughter echoed through her home as she helped with wedding preparations, her hands decorated with intricate henna patterns. Her friends teased her about her new life, and she blushed shyly, making everyone laugh. Yet, behind that radiant smile was a heavy heart. Zainab carried a dark secret, one that haunted her every night. It was a secret so terrible that she had buried it deep within her, never daring to speak of it to anyone, not even Malik. She often found herself staring into the mirror, wondering if her past would destroy the happiness she had found. The villagers, oblivious to her inner turmoil, saw her as the perfect bride. But Zainab knew that if her secret ever came out, it could ruin not just her wedding, but also her life. As the big day approached, her fear grew stronger. Could she keep her secret hidden forever, or would the truth come out when she least expected it? The perfect bride-to-be wasn't as perfect as everyone thought, and soon, the world would see the truth. Zainab's childhood was nothing like the happy life she showed to the world. After her mother passed away, her father remarried Salma, a woman who seemed kind at first, but soon revealed her true nature. Salma was controlling and cold, treating Zainab like a burden rather than a daughter. She used fear and manipulation to keep everyone under her thumb, especially Zainab. Zainab spent her childhood walking on eggshells, doing everything she could to avoid Salma's anger. But no matter how hard she tried, it was never enough. One day, everything changed. Zainab overheard Salma arguing with a landlord who demanded payment for a debt her father had unknowingly taken on. Salma turned to Zainab with a chilling look, saying it was her responsibility to fix the problem. Terrified and desperate to protect her younger siblings from the landlord's threats, Zainab agreed to do what Salma asked. Salma made her sign over the family's land to the landlord, convincing her it was the only way to keep everyone safe. Zainab didn't fully understand the consequences at the time, but as she grew older, the weight of that decision crushed her. She had handed over her family's future, and the guilt never left her. Salma's manipulation didn't stop there. She constantly reminded Zainab of her mistake, making sure she felt small and powerless. Even after leaving her stepmother's home, Zainab carried the scars of those years with her. She had never told anyone the truth, not even Malik. How could she? The shame and fear of judgment held her back. That dark chapter of her life had shaped who she was, but it also kept her from fully embracing her happiness. The secret she buried deep inside was a constant shadow, and Zainab knew it was only a matter of time before it found a way to surface. The wedding was nothing short of a dream. The village was alive with music, laughter, and the vibrant colors of celebration. Zainab looked stunning in her bridal attire, her smile lighting up the entire gathering. Malik couldn't take his eyes off her, and the love between them was evident to everyone. It felt like the perfect moment, like nothing could go wrong. For the first time in years, Zainab allowed herself to feel free, thinking that maybe her burdens were finally behind her. As the guests danced and cheered, the atmosphere was filled with pure joy. Everyone praised Zainab and Malik for being the perfect couple, and Zainab's heart swelled with hope. But just as the celebration reached its peak, a sudden silence fell over the crowd. A man dressed in shabby clothes stood at the entrance. He wasn't invited, and his presence felt like a dark cloud over the festivities. The stranger stepped forward, his voice loud and clear. "Zainab, you thought you could hide the truth forever," he said, his words cutting through the joyous atmosphere. The guests exchanged confused glances, whispering among themselves. Zainab froze, her heart pounding as the man's eyes locked onto hers. "I know your secret," the stranger continued, his tone sharp. "If you don't do what I say, I'll tell everyone here the truth about you." His words sent a chill down Zainab's spine. She could feel the curious stares of the crowd, the weight of their judgment already pressing down on her. Malik stepped forward, his face a mix of concern and confusion. "What is he talking about, Zainab?" Malik asked, his voice steady but filled with worry. Zainab couldn't find the words to answer. Her worst fear was unfolding right in front of her, and she didn't know what to do. The stranger smirked, enjoying the chaos he had caused. "Shall I tell them, or will you?" he taunted. The crowd gasped, and Zainab felt like the walls were closing in. Her perfect night had turned into a nightmare, and she knew she couldn't run from the truth any longer. The tension in the air was unbearable. Malik turned to Zainab, his eyes filled with confusion, but also a quiet determination. "Zainab," he said gently, "tell me the truth. Whatever it is, I need to hear it from you." His voice was calm, but Zainab could see the worry on his face. Zainab's hands trembled as she looked around. The crowd was silent, waiting for her to speak. She had spent years hiding this secret, hoping it would never surface. But now, there was no escape. She took a deep breath, tears welling in her eyes, and began to speak. "When I was younger, after my mother passed away, my stepmother Salma controlled everything in our lives." Zainab started, her voice shaking. "One day, a landlord came to our house demanding money my father didn't owe. Salma said the only way to protect my siblings was to give up our family's land." The crowd gasped, and Zainab paused, her heart pounding. Malik listened intently, his expression softening as he realized the pain Zainab was carrying. "I didn't know what I was doing," Zainab continued. "Salma made me sign over the land, and I thought I was saving my family. But it ruined us. That landlord took everything. I've carried this guilt ever since." Before anyone could respond, the stranger stepped forward, his smirk still plastered on his face. "That's right," he sneered. "I was working with that landlord, but thanks to people like Zainab, his crimes were exposed. I lost everything because of her." The crowd erupted in whispers, and Zainab felt the weight of their judgment. Malik raised his hand, silencing everyone. He turned to the stranger, his jaw tight with anger. "You've done enough damage tonight," Malik said firmly. "You think you can scare her, but you won't. Zainab did what she had to do to protect her family. If anyone's to blame, it's people like you and that corrupt landlord." The stranger's smug expression faltered as the crowd began murmuring in support of Malik's words. Malik reached for Zainab's hand, holding it tightly. "I'm with you, Zainab," he said softly. "You don't have to face this alone." Zainab's tears fell freely, but for the first time they weren't from fear. She felt a glimmer of hope. Malik's unwavering support gave her the strength to face the truth, and the stranger, head on. The crowd held its breath as Malik stepped forward, his eyes fixed on the stranger. There was no anger in his voice, only a calm strength that silenced the whispers around him. "You've done enough," Malik said firmly. "Zainab is not the villain here. She did what she thought was right to protect her family. If you think you can shame her or hurt her, you're wrong." The stranger shifted uneasily, his confidence faltering as Malik's words echoed through the crowd. Malik stood tall, his voice steady and clear. "This is my wife," he said, glancing back at Zainab, who was holding back tears. "And I will not let anyone harm her. Not you, not anyone." The villagers began murmuring in agreement. They had seen Zainab's kindness and strength all these years. Slowly, one by one, they stepped forward, standing beside Malik and Zainab. The stranger looked around, realizing the tide had turned against him. His smirk was gone, replaced by unease. "Leave," Malik said, his tone final. "You have no place here, and if you ever try to harm Zainab or her family again, you'll answer to all of us." The villagers nodded, their voices growing louder in support. "Zainab is one of us," someone shouted. "We stand with her." The stranger, now outnumbered and outmatched, backed away, muttering under his breath. He disappeared into the night, defeated. Malik turned to Zainab, taking her hand gently. "You're safe now," he said softly, "and you'll never have to face your past alone again." The crowd erupted into cheers, celebrating not just the couple's love, but Zainab's courage. That night, the village came together as one, proving that true strength lies in standing together against injustice. The night that started with tension and fear ended with love and hope. Zainab stood beside Malik, her heart lighter than it had felt in years. She looked into his eyes, filled with trust and admiration, and for the first time, she felt truly free. "Thank you," Zainab whispered, her voice trembling with emotion, "for standing by me, even when you didn't have to." Malik smiled and gently wiped away her tears. "I stood by you because I love you," he said softly, "and nothing from your past will ever change that." The villagers, who had watched the drama unfold, cheered for the couple. They admired Zainab's bravery in sharing her truth and Malik's strength in protecting her. Many stepped forward to offer their support, promising Zainab that she would never face anything alone again. As the celebrations resumed, the music and laughter filled the air once more. Zainab felt a warmth in her heart, knowing she was surrounded by love and acceptance. The burden she had carried for so long was finally gone. That night, Zainab and Malik began a new chapter together. They walked hand in hand into their future, ready to build a life filled with trust, love, and the strength to face anything that came their way.